Welcome to the Sales Master Series training from SalesDivvy. In this video, we'll talk about establishing true cold call rapport by understanding and improving your sales telephone voice. We're going to discuss the most powerful forms of communication, a checklist for evaluating your phone voice, how to make your voice more interesting when selling. Let's get started. If you are like most people, when you're selling on the phone, it's like painting a picture in black and white. That's because the way we communicate in life is mostly nonverbal. On the phone, you only have your words, and the specific words you use are the least powerful medium for sales communications. Studies have shown that the words you use in a face-to-face encounter only represent about 8% of the total information the other party receives from you. Your tone of voice is much more important in persuading or exciting someone than the words you actually use. And the visual cues you send are even more impactful. I can tell you to trust me and that my product or service is the best. If you only saw the words printed, you're much less likely to believe me than if you can hear the sincerity in my voice. Even more information is contained in body language. Up to 55% of everything the other person remembers about a conversation will be information conveyed by your body language. The good thing about the words you use in prospecting is that you can continually refine them. You can experiment, do A/B testing, and gain experience to know what words work best. You have a lot of control over your words. But even though tone and visual cues are more important than words in communicating, you don't have as much control over the tone of your voice, and you have even less control over the visual cues you send. Since we're talking about prospecting over the telephone, it makes sense to concentrate on improving our tone of voice. In trying to improve your prospecting, you could choose to work more on the words, but refining your spiel has relatively low impact. In fact, we find that beginning salespeople tend to spend a lot of time getting the words exactly right, while seasoned salespeople are more focused on easily and quickly establishing rapport with a prospect on the phone. Because tone of voice has such a big impact on results, it will definitely pay to improve the tone and quality of your voice. Let's highlight some elements of your voice that you can control, and we'll go over some tips on how to improve. First, the bottom line is you're going to have to evaluate yourself in order to understand how to improve. You'll need to record yourself and listen back in order to get better. Does it seem silly or embarrassing, like role-playing exercises your sales manager perhaps wants you to do? Here's a fact. The best sales prospectors are the pros who are most courageous and disregard embarrassment. Get over it. We're here to get better, so leave your fears and hesitations behind. Record real calls you make with prospects, and record your practice sessions. They're both useful. Then play your calls back and make written notes about what strikes you as good and bad. If you sound low energy to yourself, you can be sure your prospect has the same impression. In addition to recording yourself and listening back, you can also get feedback from associates, your manager, or even friends as how you sound on the phone. But feedback is not a replacement for listening to yourself. You must record from time to time to sharpen your skills. And you must use written notes to record your observations and set goals for improvement. Let's stop here to emphasize this point. If you don't do a good job evaluating yourself, you'll never understand why you don't always get a positive response on the phone. If you don't have a clear plan for improving, you will just continue to reinforce poor technique. Once you've identified where you need to improve and have a plan to do it, then it's on to practicing and ultimately on to selling more. The starting point for improving your voice is to check qualities that are most easily received by your listener. Whether making an introductory call or leading a phone sales meeting, it's important to understand how you're coming across to your audience. Your posture has more to do with your voice than any other physical element. If you're slumped in a chair or have your head hanging down at your desk, your voice will immediately convey an impression of disinterest and lack of energy. In a face-to-face meeting, would you ever slouch or have a lazy posture? No. If you don't have a good posture while talking on the phone, your tone of voice will reflect exactly how you look. Sit up straight or stand up when speaking to project authority and energy. If you're genuinely alert, awake, and interested, it comes through in your voice. Naturally, people give more credibility to a conversation where the speaker is engaged and interested. If you're coming across as sleeping and just mailing it in, your results are going to be a fraction of what they could be. Keep that enthusiasm up at all times. If you're not interested, why should your prospects be? The last 2 checkpoints are way beyond the scope of this video. But if you've recorded yourself cold calling and you don't sound like you have a positive attitude, it's time for some introspection. We're not going to offer motivational platitudes, but we will offer a word of wisdom. The more you focus on improving yourself and your prospecting skills, the better you get. And the better you get at prospecting, the more you will like it and come to truly enjoy meeting new people through prospecting. So when evaluating your recordings, use this checklist and rate yourself in each area. Keep up the good work and put some effort into getting past any weaknesses that you find. Good speakers are sometimes born, but more often, they're made by studying the basic variables of speech. You may not ever be a radio announcer, but you can certainly take some lessons from what people have known for years about what makes for an interesting speaker. Understand that what's most important about your voice is variation, not necessarily the pitch of your speaking voice. You can have a high voice or a deep voice, a twang or a drawl, and still be a good speaker. What will get you nowhere is a flat, monotone delivery. Using variation in the volume, rhythm, and pitch of your voice will help you engage and interest your listeners. Think about the most boring teacher you ever had, and remember how all the kids would imitate him or her. The imitation almost always was based on zero variation, a flat, monotone presentation that failed to inspire, motivate, or interest you. Varying volume, rhythm, and pitch while speaking is vital to the overall impression you'll make and will determine how engaging you are as a speaker. The good news is that you can easily improve by understanding each element. Most people vary the volume of their speech naturally, some people more than others. When listening to your prospecting recordings, take special note of how often and by how much you vary the volume of your voice. Watch the local news people and notice that every one of them constantly and continually varies the volume of their voice. Sometimes the volume is varied depending on the content of the story they're reading. The same goes for you. Use a louder voice to emphasize what's important and a quieter voice for less important information. The last thing you want is to use a uniformly loud voice for an entire call or sales presentation. You will not be making friends. Another area you can vary when speaking is rhythm. This is less obvious when watching the news channel, but professionally trained speakers change speed and rhythm even in a single sentence. Speeding up or slowing down your rate of speaking adds emphasis to your words and interest to your voice. The pitch of your voice means the note or frequency of your speech. A single human voice sound is actually made up of literally hundreds of frequencies. Human speech is rich, expressive, and a mostly comforting sound to all of us. When the pitch is not varied, the listener can't help but lose interest in your message. Some people have the opposite problem of too regularly varying the pitch of their voice. Avoid uptalk or any rhythmic variance in your speech patterns that could be annoying and distracting to the listener. And try to never say, you know? To summarize, evaluating and improving your tone of voice when prospecting will help you more easily connect and inspire confidence when calling. Learning to vary the volume, rhythm, and pitch of your voice will make your message more meaningful and interesting for listeners. It takes honest self-evaluation and practice to get better, so find a way to record yourself as soon as you can. See more of our sales training videos by visiting www.salesdivvy.com or checking out our YouTube channel. If you don't have a SalesDivvy account yet, get a free account, fill in your buyer profile, and see who wants to share leads with you. Happy prospecting.